match is now officially a Judy Bagwell on a forklift match.
I can see my fantasy, I'm so consumed in bed. What I see takes over me, I'm blind beyond repair.
What a good fucking show. That's probably going to be the best pay-per-view of the year.
Wow.
That was one of those shows that was without flaw. Or if there was flaw, it was very minuscule.
Okay.
But I'm Clinton Davis. You can find me at PK Batman on Twitter.
I'm Ethan Hubbard. You can find me on... just kidding. I'm Russ Joy. Follow me on Twitter at JoyOnBroad.
Beneath us is Trevor Davis. You can find him at Nightmare Cuda on Twitter.
There he is.
Fuck. And then Twitch, PK Batman 420, channel Snickle Fritz on YouTube, on a Forklift Pod on Twitter, and Thursdays at 9 p.m. on UPN. Starting this Thursday after Blood and Guts, which they did a lot to build towards Blood and Guts on this pay-per-view.
What was the show on UPN that SmackDown followed? Does anybody remember? If you're watching out there and you remember, drop it in the chat. Was it like one of the Wayans shows? Was like one of the Wayans brothers had a show on UPN before?
I'm pretty sure it was
SmackDown?
the Wayans brothers show.
I think that I'm pretty sure. I'm mostly sure that's what it was.
Because I'm pretty sure that it was in that that block. It was that show, and then it followed up by Martin.
Am I crazy for thinking that like there was a time where it was like preceded by either like a King of Queens or a Yes Dear? Because I feel like there's a decent chance that one of those was. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Kings of Queens is an underrated TV show. I'll die on
100%. 100%. So what Clint's trying to say here is On a Forklift will now be followed by Yes Dear, preceded by King of Queens. So make sure you tune into UPN this Thursday at 9 p.m. Okay, so I have some positive things to say about a pay-per-view.
I have a lot of positive things to say.
A couple of things that they needed to do better or could do better for next time. But the show, as the show stands on its own, not the stuff around it, not the stuff leading up to it, the show itself wildly exceeded expectations. I would say almost entirely across the board.
They had, in my opinion, one of the best opening matches on a pay-per-view. Like, it's a top 10 pay-per-view opener, that 6-man between Jericho, Sammy, and Suzuki versus Eddie, Shooter, and Wheeler Yuta. I fucking loved that opener. That was a New Japan 6-man tag on American soil, and it was great.
It was a really smart choice to make that the first match. It does a couple of things. It, one, certainly helps with Chris Jericho. You think about, like, as a performer, you want to go on first, you want to go on last. Anything in the middle can get lost in the shuffle. You can have a match that steals the show, as is the case, I think, with what happened at Forbidden Door. Kind of like the back half, but like close to the middle. I'm going to be honest with you. I missed the first like 6 or 7 minutes, I think.
You missed the Eddie Kingston pop.
Yeah, so from what I saw, I was just happy it was done. And it's not that I think the match was bad. It's just that, like, I did not care about that match. I think it was unnecessary. And I think ultimately, the back end of the very last thing you got to see before the show went off the air is kind of indicative of an issue that happened in terms of timing, with this being so close to Blood and Guts, or putting Blood and Guts so close to this. I just think that a lot of Jericho things in the past I've really been a fan of, and I'm just not enjoying it right now. And so, like, getting it out of the way, getting that match, anything that was positive that was in that match, stands on its own. But just in general, like, getting that one out of the way so I don't have to lament it being in the middle of the show is certainly a good thing. So kudos to them for putting it up first.
Shooter had a really good showing in this match. They tied it back to 2017 when Jericho took out Red Shoes, who is his dad.
Yeah.
Yuta had ties into this match because of the Blackpool Combat Club. And of course, you have Eddie Kingston, who is leading the charge to kill Chris Jericho, which, since they won this match, I truly believe that Eddie Kingston's team is winning this Wednesday, especially with Jericho going out and having to tour for the next 2 months.
I'm not so sure. Didn't we try to use that as logic last year? Was that like Jericho's going to go on tour and everything's going to fall off and like he's going to put somebody over, and then it went the other way?
Listen, logic doesn't really have a place in wrestling, so we just kind of...
It's true.
Like,
true.
But that match was a hot opener. Jericho got the win with the Judas effect on Shooter after some shenanigans. And that led to Jericho's team getting the advantage this Wednesday at Blood and Guts, which we will still be going to. We're not missing.
Will
that.
you?
Yeah. That was something we discussed today, as if we were going to Blood and Guts still, and that is still on the books.
That's smart. So you've got that, and now the heels have the advantage, which is always nice because that
they need to
allows,
have the advantage in Blood and Guts.
Heels starting a War Games match with the advantage is really huge, and it gives the underdogs something to kind of, get the crowd support behind them. You're always going to be at the disadvantage right after the initial one-on-one, so it makes it easier to pop for the good guys when somebody comes in and evens the odds. We'll get there, I'm sure, at some point, but like, who do you think is going to be the last one in the match?
Normally you save the captain for last, but I don't think Eddie Kingston's going to wait to go in last.
And I can't imagine they're going to put Moxley last, right? Like they wouldn't do that. Or would they? Because he's now the interim world champion.
Claudio, because he's the new guy.
Maybe.
And that's the one people are going to be waiting for, is to see Claudio in this match now.
I would guess that Yuta's going to be the first one in, right? Like, I think that makes the most sense.
It's either going to be Santana or Ortiz.
You think so?
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe Ortiz.
Okay. All right.
Ortiz, after he got his head shaved, he's probably got something to prove. He'll probably start the match out. But it's 6-on-6, which I can't remember if there's ever been a Blood and Guts / War Games match that has had this many people in it. It's always been, WCW is always 4-on-4, 5-on-5. NXT has always been 4-on-4, with the exception of the first one, which was 3-on-3-on-3. Which was...
I'm trying to remember. There was a fall brawl. Was it 96? I'm going to look this up while we're talking.
That's cool, because we can move on to the next match, which was FTR versus the United... I'm just going to call them the United Kingdom, because I can't remember their fucking... United Empire. And Roppongi Vice, which was a fun little tag with a lot of emotion in it, because they took out Dax Harwood right at the beginning.
But it was an excellent match.
Excellent match. Even when you got Great-O-Khan having a decent match, you got a good match on your hands, and it was the right winner too. There was no other team that should have won that match besides FTR.
There was, and now I don't know if you saw this or not, and this is actually something that I wanted to make sure that I said before we like dove in everything. If you remember when we did the last show, I said like there's no reason for me to tune into this, right? Like from my vantage point, I'm like I need AEW to sell me on why this pay-per-view is worth buying. And I think I had even said like this company has such a great team that puts together all these video packages and like does all this like really great breakdown stuff. And it's like, where has that been leading up to the pay-per-view? So after Rampage, I watched the countdown to Forbidden Door. And like 5 minutes into the show, they sold me on it. Because the build that they did about Tanahashi, the package that they did about FTR, but actually giving a little bit more of an idea about Cobb and Great-O-Khan, I'm like, all right, now I get it. Like this is why it's so important, if they're going to do this again, to build up the New Japan guys. Make a person who doesn't sit down and watch and really religiously follow New Japan, like make us understand why it's important and like why these guys, like why the stakes actually matter. I don't think Great-O-Khan's very good. I don't get it.
He's not. He's a pimp.
Like and like I don't get it, and I think it's weird, and I don't think he really added anything to the match. I think Jeff Cobb was really good. I think Jeff Cobb is like a perfect guy to be in New Japan. Like I would not bring Jeff Cobb back to AEW. I know that he was like brought in as a mercenary in one storyline, but like Jeff Cobb is really good. And when I'm like sitting there watching it and he does a flat foot standing moonsault in the middle of the ring, I'm just like, that's That's wild. Did not expect that. This match, though, remember my problem with it going in?
Roppongi Vice in it.
Yeah, two teams have belts and one team doesn't. And the one thing that still was not sold to me, like going into it, was what business do Roppongi Vice have? Like, I get that their match was disrupted with FTR. They, I think, they had like a good enough showing. The Dax thing was like very clearly worked and was then admitted in the scrum after the pay-per-view that like that was all just part of the story, which I think sucks that they admitted that. I just like, you don't need to admit it.
Keep kayfabe alive some way.
Yeah, just a little bit. Like that that would have just been really cool to be like, yo, we think they would have won anyway, but holy shit, like Dax popped his shoulder out. I mean, FTR had to go over. And they did.
There was no other team that could have won that match.
No, and I think Roppongi Vice actually had a pretty good showing for themselves. I think Rocky Romero had a much better match than I expected. It was good. It was really solid.
It was a good second match on the card. It was exactly where it needed to breathe right after the energetic and chaotic 6-man that opened up the show.
And I thought initially that it was like a weird place to put it because I was like, man, there were like 2 or 3 matches I was really looking forward to. And FTR's match obviously was going to be one of those 2 or 3. And so I was like, man, if it's going to be that early, like you run the risk of putting a match that doesn't belong later on in the show. FTR is so good right now. Like you can't, if you can't appreciate what FTR has done and how they have just absolutely gone out and put tag team wrestling like back on the map, then I don't think you're actually a pro wrestling fan at all.
No, FTR is the best tag team in the world right now.
And you know, it's funny. I'm sure you've noticed this, but on commentary, JR kind of goes out of his way to say that like FTR is the best. And then sometimes he'll say, well, with the Young Bucks, but usually it's JR who says this is the best tag team. Now, if you notice, JR was not on the call for that match. He doesn't come out till later in the pay-per-view. And I think it was Kevin Kelly was the one, and Taz both said FTR the best tag team in the world right now, probably. And Excalibur does along with the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
And so you have to do that because they've got the AEW belts.
Yeah, but let me interrupt you for a second.
Collision course.
Let me interrupt you because we need to talk about one major highlight on this show, and that was the addition of Kevin Kelly on commentary. Kevin Kelly was fucking phenomenal. Him and Excalibur and Taz, they were great with the rotating in. I thought it was funny that they brought out JR for the Orange Cassidy Ospreay match. I found that fucking funny because he doesn't really get Orange Cassidy. And
that was another hell of a match.
We'll get to that match. We'll get to it.
Let's dive into that commentary thing though, because there is a reason, and you hit on half of it. And so like, earmark this, Trevor. Earmark this for when we get to Ospreay and Cassidy of JR coming out. Because what match was it that Shivani came out? It was like 2 before that.
It was the Sting match.
It was a Sting match, which that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if for nothing else, like Tony Khan did a great job of figuring out when we're going to insert the more experienced voices or like the guys that kind of jog your inner fandom and your inner nostalgia. They did that right. But Kevin Kelly, man, like I was kind of skeptical of how he was going to play off of Excalibur. We know that Kevin Kelly and Taz can work well together. We know that Excalibur and Taz can work well together. But when you've got 2 play-by-play guys next to each other, that trade-off is really difficult, as we've seen with having 3 of them on the same Dynamite crew. So it was nice. It was a good change of pace, and it obviously made sense because you needed voices of New Japan there. And then you had what's his nuts?
What's his nuts?
Cassidy? No. Owen? No, what was his guy from Ring of Honor?
Fuck, I know his name. Fuck.
Anyway, so he's there. He's there for FTR because you have a Ring of Honor belt. And like, if we're going to start rolling with this, like if you're going to do more interpromotional things, I love the idea of having voices of those companies in some way, shape, or form involved in the broadcast, because that adds like another layer of special, like it makes it feel a little bit more special, a little bit more unique, and it gives a new dynamic to kind of play off. And then it does give some balance Like, you don't really have a homer announcer, and you also don't have a heel announcer. But when you put the two together, it's clear that, like, the AEW guy is going to want the AEW team to win, and the New Japan guy is probably going to want the New Japan guy to win. But it's cool. It, like,
Caprice
it
Coleman.
works well. Coleman.
Caprice
Wow,
Coleman.
man. Okay. Caprice Coleman, CC. Caprice Coleman, CC, C-Way. He's good, too.
Yeah,
Like, I like what he brings to the telecast as well. If nothing else, like, you're kind of getting an idea, I think, of what's going to happen here when they start to transition JR to more of like the backstage kind of role, the interviewing role for that kind of like big moment, or if they're going to transition him into being like, call the championship match, be on the call for that, and like let some of these other guys kind of work their way in. It does add flavor. It was like the old Bischoff model, right, with Nitro. First hour has one team, second hour has another team. You have enough people with experience on calling, like on commentary, that you could do something like that, or in a long pay-per-view like this. It was good.
It was
really
good. We'll move on to the third match of the night, which was the 4-way for the inaugural All-Atlantic champion, which was Pac, Malachi Black, Miro, and Clark Connors. This was won by, in my opinion, now that I look at it, the right person. Pac definitely should have won this match, and it was right in front of our faces. That match was fucking great. A nice, fast-paced 4-man that definitely gave Clark Connors, a person who was unknown to everyone in that audience. He's definitely going to be a name they remember now because he was great. He fit right in with all three of those guys, all three of those high mid-card guys. And he was a relatively unknown person who just fit in perfectly. That spear onto Miro through the table.
That was good.
Fucking great. The Black Mist to Miro to take him out of the match. The 450 onto what was essentially a heel hook that Malachi had on Clark Connors. Clark Connors tapping out to the Brutalizer. And what was a really, really good match to crown an inaugural champion. However, I do have one gripe.
Go ahead. You have a gripe with that match?
With not really the match itself, but a structure, because there was 4 people in that match. And the one thing I said that would have made it better, if you're crowning an inaugural champion, it's got to be an elimination match. It should have been a 4-way elimination match to crown the first champion.
I disagree.
Okay.
I do. In that, by not making it an eliminator, you get to have the kind of chaos that you had at the end of the match.
Okay.
Because it comes back to that idea of like, whether you know, like in food, you say you eat with your eyes first, right? Like if a plate doesn't look appetizing, you're probably like, you're going to have an initial apprehension, right?
Yeah.
And, you probably think I put too much stock into this sometimes, but like, if you're to look at Pac versus Miro, right? Pac, built strong, there's no doubt. But stature-wise, you put him up against Miro. If you told me that those are the last 2 guys in the match, or like Clark Connors and Miro, right, are the last 2, I'm going to look at that, and my brain, for better or worse, is going to say, like, well, in theory, Miro should absolutely drive through adult Jungle Boy. Seriously, think about it. He looked like when Jungle Boy 10, 15 years from now.
He was Aussie Boy.
Yeah. But if you think about it, you lose a lot of the fun of like what could happen if you go the eliminator way. Now, if that's Ishii instead of Connors, I probably agree with you. Like I think that dynamic change would make me think that there's more credence to it. But in a weird way, Clark Connors had some cool moments. But then, like you also said, all right, conceptually, he's the weak link. Like, he's the guy who's going to take the pinfall or submit. But how do we get there? Because you still would have to take out a Miro or a Pac or a Malachi, obviously 2 of the 3. Like, something has to happen. And this match sets up so many possibilities. Trevor, what did you think? Did you like this one?
I did like the match. I was rooting for Miro, of course, because that's my guy. Excuse me. But after watching the match and then seeing everything, Pac did deserve the title. Only thing I have to pick about that title, just for a little thing, it looks cool, but it looks just like the women's title.
the structure of it, like where the plates
Yeah.
are and like the shape of it. I'm pretty sure that was like an initial an initial complaint when the belt was first introduced. It was like, this is a really cool looking belt, but like it maybe looks a little bit too similar. I don't know. Like the flip side is it's a good looking belt either way. Like the women's belt looks really good. The Atlantic belt looks really good.
But it also took the women's title 3 times to finally look good.
That is true. That is true. The
Wow.
Miro part of this, like Miro would have made a great champion. Still could. I don't know if you guys got this feeling after watching it, but like that almost feels like it's going to be the secondary heavyweight championship, right? Like it feels like all of the guys who were brought in right before Punk are now going to have like another belt to go after, where like you can take a bunch of guys who you thought were going to be like the main eventers, who still might be at some point, but like aren't getting a rocket strapped to their back. Like this feels like a way to keep Malachi as a singles competitor relevant, and a way to keep Pac as a singles relevant, and to keep Miro in a conversation about the championship that's not the TNT, because really he did the best and probably did the best that anybody's going to do with it until like Wardlow and whoever that next feud is. But like this gives another legitimate eye-popping kind of like fantasy booking title picture, which I think is kind of cool and good for Pac. A day one guy finally wins a belt.
Yeah.
Who's going to complain? Nobody can.
Nobody.
No one's going to complain.
And he's going to put on some damn good matches. Think about what happens from this point on, right? Like, Miro's going to complain because he got misted, not a legal maneuver, right? Malachi is going to complain because he's going to feel like, I had this thing won until got the 450. So like, if you set up inner rivalries that kind of lead us down a path there, all of a sudden you've added a ton of intrigue. So that's exciting.
But let's move on to the next match of the night, which was the Dudes with Attitudes taking on the Bullet Club. And of course, in typical Sting fashion, now at 63 fucking years old, he has to start every match. I'm pretty sure it's in his contract at this point that he has to jump off a big high structure onto a bunch of bodies.
Okay.
What a way to kick off the match.
That was a
Absolutely.
great way to kick off the match, because they played it where his entrance was going, where's Sting, why is he missing? Then here comes the Bullet Club. Well, actually, excuse me, Super Kick Party, then Bullet Club. And then they're in the middle of their whole yay, and then suddenly, bam. Then here comes Sting jumping off the top.
I tweeted when this happened, because my thought was, they're not going to have jumped Sting. Like, they're not going to drag Sting out to the ring. That doesn't make any sense. And I tweeted at that point, I was like, if Sting comes out of the Raptors, I'm going to weep. Like, there's only so much nostalgia I think anybody can reasonably expect to go through. And, like, I don't think there's ever going to be a time that you're going to see Sting or anybody else come out of the Raptors again, and we know why. But when the lights went out and they showed Sting, well, what was supposed to be Sting up in the rafters, I was like, holy shit, it's actually going to happen. Oh my God, we're actually going to see like 60-whatever-year-old Sting come out of the rafters. This would be insane. And I'm like, why aren't they zooming on him? And why does he look a little bit younger? Like that hairline, something about the hairline. I'm like, but man, he's old. And he's jumping off the top of the stage.
Really
onto
puts the
those
Undertaker
guys.
to fucking shame when it comes to what he can do. And fucking Undertaker's younger than him.
Yeah, and like Undertaker didn't have a debilitating, like potentially career-ending neck injury.
No.
And
Has there ever been a time where a guy has been mistreated the way that he was in that WWE run, is pretty much told like your career is over, and then got to go back out and have a career renaissance like this? Wild. Wild. You could have not even been a Sting fan. And like you have to respect what the guy is doing.
It's great. I mean, yes.
Sting looks better than Jeff Hardy.
But let's
Say
move
it,
on.
like,
Let's move on.
say it.
Let's move on. I'm not saying anything right now. We're not trying to be negative. Let's move on. The match itself was super great. That was, if you want to know what an example of a New Japan 6-man is, where it's just a whole bunch of people teamed up together, that is it. That is every New Japan multi-man match you will ever fucking see.
I did like when Sting got kicked in the face and he just looked at him and went, "Ah," and then clotheslined them both. It was great. Okay.
Yeah, because Sting's great. And Sting fucking hits a double scorpion death drop. Locks in a scorpion death lock. It takes 2 super kicks to get him off. Sting's inhuman at this fucking point. Sting has 99 stats with finishers reserved. Like, he started the match with 5 finishers. Took an ass kicking. No one could put him away. I thought the spots with the back raking were a lot of fun. Those were fun. Just it was a Young Bucks New Japan multi-man match, and I fucking loved it. Shingo Takagi is a fucking monster. That fucking pump lariat he does is great. Followed by the chasing the dragon. Oh, Shingo Takagi is my favorite person over in New Japan.
Now, I did like the Bucks coming out to their old attire from when they were in Bullet Club, which is the attire of.
Oh my God, he's got it. He has the thing. He's got
Almost
the thing.
right there.
Yeah, that's cool and all.
Except the vest. That's what they had differently. But yeah.
So the Young Bucks kind of being the smarmy heels again, and like the attire to match was great. And it makes me so sad that like we don't get that normally.
No, but it's okay. We don't need it all the time. They want to be storytellers now, which is cool. It was nice.
I'd take more of that.
It was nice to see them return to form for a minute. That was a nice 6-man tag right after a title match. They structured this card so well.
There was a really smart thing that happened, by the way. If you're somebody who like freaks out about like whenever somebody no sells a move, when Sting took those double super kicks, if you remember, he takes them, and then after he no sells, he eventually does kind of collapse, as if it was just kind of like he took the shot, he fought through some adrenaline, fought back, and then was just like gassed, was wiped out. So like there was even some logic in what he did.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love Sting.
That was a great match. Like, go out of your way to watch it. Like, there's a few you should go out of your way to watch this whole card. But if there's a few matches you're gonna like pick up and watch, this is one of them. Because Sting's great.
It's Sting.
Yeah, so we're gonna move on to the next match here, which was Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm. It was fine.
What's that kid sound? Who has a kid?
My little brother has his kid in the background.
That's what that is.
Yeah.
That would be Sawyer.
Yeah.
Tom Sawyer? Sawyer from Lost? How many Sawyers can you think of?
Moving on.
Yeah, the Thunder Rosa Toni Storm match was fine. It was a really good women's match, but in my opinion, it was the one match that had no place on this card because it wasn't AEW versus New Japan. It was AEW. I know you had to have a women's match on this card. I know you had some visa issues with Stardom, but you could have done.
When's the last time Thunder Rosa had a match that we've come away from saying that was a great match?
Britt Baker in the cage. No, you know the Serena Deeb match. The Serena Deeb match.
That was a good match. That was a good match. The one with Baker in the cage was not a good match. That one was like that was clunky and weird and mistimed. I just don't think it's there.
Maybe they're going to put the belt on Statlander.
They're going to put the belt on Mercedes Varnado. Just have to get there first. When's all out? When's the next pay-per-view?
September
Revolution?
4th.
Whichever one? September 4th?
Out.
Sounds like a great time.
But there's also Death by Dishonor.
But that's Ring of Honor.
Still.
They're not going to do AEW championship matches on that. They're not.
Shouldn't.
Do you want to place a bet? I'm in a betting mood today. Come on.
No.
There's one match that they could potentially do. They'll put FTR. I could totally see them doing FTR Young Bucks for the Ring of Honor titles, but not putting any of the other ones.
Yeah, but that's a Ring of Honor title.
Yeah.
They're not going to put any AEW titles on the line.
Yeah, they won't go title for title there.
If they put any of the titles on the line, it'll be the All Atlantic Championship.
That would make sense.
But they're not going to put the AEW tag titles, the World Championship, the Women's, the TNT, the TBS. They're not going to put any of those on pay-per-view. But they might put the All Atlantic because it's new. Yeah. And Pat can go work over in Ring of Honor. But everyone else is kind of like a mainstay. They have no reason to go work in Ring of Honor.
Scorpio Sky, TNT title. American Top Team.
I can't wait for Wardlow to completely destroy him to get that title. But going on.
We're going to move on to my match of
Moving
the
on.
night. Orange Cassidy versus Will Ospreay.
That was the shit.
That match fucked. That match fucked harder than any man I've ever been with.
I'm sorry, Cat. Orange should have actually had it.
My one gripe is the fact that the internet wrestling community spoiled us getting his entrance music changed.
Getting
Because-
his music changed.
Orange Cassidy, he's getting new music. Tony Khan was ready to debut it this Sunday, but since everyone on the internet blew the surprise, he's holding out on it. Because he got him the fucking Jefferson Starship Jane, which was his old indie song.
Oh, so they did get him
Really?
Jane.
Yeah, so the Jane, which that's the music he's wanted since he's got to AEW.
He used it one time, and that was at the first All Out.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's it called? Jefferson what?
Jefferson
Jefferson
Starship Jane. The best, Wet Hot American Summer.
Oh, hold on,
Have you seen that
pop
movie?
This in my own ear. I'm gonna pop this in my own ear. I don't want to have a DMCA violation here for your channel. That'd be bad.
No, but I want to talk about this match because this match was fucking great. It was 16 minutes, and those two went out there and had the best match of the night. It was great. Fucking Orange Cassidy worked a Will Ospreay pace, and it was great. They got all the Orange Cassidy spots in. And Orange Cassidy showed a side of himself we haven't seen since his feud with Jericho. Did Orange Cassidy get the win? No, he didn't. He lost. But in that loss, we got the moment of the night that made me cry. Ethan reached out and held my fucking hand as I was crying when Shibata's music hit and he came out.
Oh,
Because I love Shibata. I love him so much.
and then Shibata got the sunglasses put on him by Orange.
I know you don't know about Shibata. You should really go out of your way, Russ, to watch some Shibata matches from New Japan. His ones with Ishii, his fucking final match with Okada. Any one of them.
The last time I experienced ciabatta, I think it was at a Subway. It was like when they were doing the special sandwiches.
Listen,
Actually-
there will be no bad mouthing Shibata on this podcast.
So,
At all.
actually, a little bit off topic. Russ,
No.
did you figure out if you still wanted to do DDT or not?
Oh, for the quiz thing? I haven't
Yeah.
done any research for DDT. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
None of you are going to get any questions right.
Have you done the questions yet?
I've written the question round and the final round,
I will
but
study
I
up
don't think you
beforehand.
guys are going to get shit.
I'll
Because
study up. It's going to be great.
I believe the tag team match is on hold right now.
I don't know
Okay.
what I'm doing. I'm going to do a
right.
quiz here eventually.
Can we get back to Cassidy
Yeah.
and Ospreay for a
I
second?
I had to ask you that
You-
question because
you guys
don't know how to answer.
You guys are living in this like delusional place. And I said I wasn't going to be negative, but like somebody's got to say it. That was not a good match.
That was a phenomenal match.
You are so full of shit. Your eyes are turning brown. That was a good.
My eyes
match.
are already brown. They've been brown since I was a baby. So
Yeah, well then you're full
it
of
wasn't
shit.
a good match. It wasn't a good match. It was a great match. It was so much better than it had any right being. Like it should not have been that good. Do I think that it was incredibly stupid to make Cassidy Ospreay's opponent? Yes, I will stand by that. I think it was incredibly dumb. Do I think that Ospreay and Andrade would have had a better match? I think it would have been a totally different match. Would it have been better? I don't know. Like, would it have been more entertaining? Maybe not. For the kind of wrestling that I like, I think that I would have probably enjoyed it as a wrestling match better. But you got to give Ospreay a lot of credit. And I'll say you got to give Cassidy some credit too. And this is where commentary comes into play. Because how many times did we hear the commentary team say, Ospreay is going to make a mistake because Cassidy's going to get under his skin. He's going to piss him off and he's going to make a mistake. And it happened a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the role of commentary that's on their game comes into play. And who came in for this match, Clint? Who wasn't on the pay-per-view until this match?
JR.
JR, who, as you mentioned, did not get Orange Cassidy. Tony Khan has said that publicly. JR has said that publicly. That he didn't get Orange Cassidy at the time. And I still don't think, if we sat down with JR and had a beer and said, JR, do you like Orange Cassidy? Do you like the whole thing? He'd probably be like, it's fine, whatever. It's not my cup of tea. But when commentary does a good job of laying the groundwork and setting the stage and explaining how and why what you're seeing right now in front of you has a chance of going sideways on the guy that everybody expects to win, they did a good job of building this match as it was going along, that Cassidy could win. And it wasn't just the initial phase. It was then, all right, let's go by the eye test. Based on what I'm seeing throughout this match, does Cassidy have a chance? And at some point, you sit there and you go, yeah, he genuinely does. Because he didn't look out of sorts, and he didn't look like he was, like way outclassed. It didn't look like a Major League Baseball team taking on a AA team.
No.
Right? Cassidy, physically, and the way that he can, he's explosive, which is funny because he's lazy, right? And it's his gimmick. But he surprises you. He lulls you in, and it's change of pace. It's like in basketball. It's like an Iverson crossover. Slow to incredibly quick, and before you know it, he's like hit the Stun Dog Millionaire. Or he had, what the hell was that move, Clint? Where like Cassidy's like doing 17 like spin-a-rooney John skis.
Around the world.
Yeah, like whatever that thing was, where he's just like kind of like weaving his body around Ospreay. I was like, this is really all right. Like this is good. Like you have to say, if you watch that match and you didn't smile a few times, I bet you Jim Cornette smiled. I bet you he did. I do.
I love
he will 100% bury that match on his podcast, but I guarantee you there were a couple of points where he's like, all right, you know what? Like that was okay. He'll hate everything about it, but in his heart of hearts, he knows, all right, like Cassidy did it okay. And Ospreay looked really good in the win.
I really liked the spot where fucking Ospreay knocked him off the turnbuckle, and Orange landed on his feet. He was like, just looked up. He just went, shh, and he just laid down flat and smacked his hands. And then fucking Will still did the backflip.
The thing was like the Eddie Guerrero thing.
Yeah,
it was like the Guerrero
and
like kind of
backflip and do a shooting star press and still hit Cassidy. Great spot.
Yep. Fantastic.
Great fucking spot. And Shibata coming out at the end was just, it was like the cherry on top for me. That I'm gonna have to rewatch it again, but that might take Anarchy in the Arena's spot as the best match of the year for me so far.
That was a way better match. Way better. Like I would go back and watch that Ospreay match 15 times before I'd ever go back and watch Anarchy in the Arena again.
You're just butthurt about Daniel Bryan right now.
No, I said at the time I didn't. I thought Anarchy in the Arena was like kind of goofy. It's fine.
Okay, you did.
It was fine. It was fun. It was fun. It was fun.
But we can move on to the next match, which
what was that?
Which could be the second best match of the night, in my opinion, which was Zack Sabre Jr. taking on the debuting Claudio Cascagnoli. If I pronounce that. First
that match was.
That is not the pronunciation. Try again.
I know.
We'll do this until
Claudio
right.
Castagnoli.
Nope.
Claudio
Try
Cascagnoli.
Again. What's that Italian dish where it's layered pasta,
lasagna,
to cheese? Yeah, lasagna, right?
I'm not Italian.
Yeah, no, you said it right though, lasagna. So
and
GN in Italian makes that nya sound. So Castagnoli.
And this is why WWE named him Cesaro.
No, but that his music
so good,
instantly top tier.
Did you hear the same thing I heard?
What?
1812 Overture, which we all know that is clearly what this is.
Absolutely.
But
I know
tell me that didn't give you every bit of the feeling of Party Hard.
Oh, that's why I love it so much. Thank you.
You work all night. When I work, you feel right at work.
Really?
Stop feeling all right. Trevor, wasn't that your Xbox gamer tag? Weren't you Party Hard 89 or something?
At one
right?
time, yeah.
Yeah,
you were.
And you want to know why? Because we're Detroit boys, and Andrew WK is a Detroit boy, so we support him.
And every time you hear Party Hard, you're just like, when it's time to party, people party hard.
I thought of you. Oh, he threw down the headphones. That was commitment.
No, but that
seriously.
Man.
When I heard it the first time, when I heard it after the show, I'm just like, this is party hard, and 1812 Overture had a very strange baby, and I'm here for it.
I fucking loved that match too. What a perfect match to go on right before the suspense building up to who this mystery guy was going to be. We all knew it was going to be Claudio, but like there was a chance for me. I got a little hyped because Johnny Gargano was in Chicago at the same time. So I got a little excited thinking Johnny Wrestling's coming back. That would have been my preferred opponent, but fuck, he fits right in with the Blackpool Combat Club.
Why do I think Johnny Gargano is going to be in Detroit?
He won't. He's with his kid right now. So
he is better suited to wait this thing out. There is no reason for him to come back right now.
No,
wait until it's special. Wait until it's special for somebody to debut, because now that Claudio debuted, it's just gonna feel like you've lost. You've missed out again.
Man, if you like technical wrestling matches and you like hard hitting affairs, fucking Zack Sabre Jr. versus Claudio might be your match of the night. That match was so fucking good. So fucking good. Ginger beer.
It was a spicy Cousin's Maine Lobster is near where I live, and it was spicy, like a nice ginger beer, non-alcoholic.
Oh, that's
don't
good.
drink and drive. It's non-alcoholic though, but don't drink and drive when you're listening to a wrestling podcast. Claudio, so good. So good. So happy. Like, it was great to see him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was really
good
cool.
to see him.
By that point, and this is the thing that I was most impressed with, because how many times have we talked about long shows with AEW crowds and like you get wiped out, right? And it's okay to get wiped out because there's so much that you're there for. And the crowd
it's fucking
is
11.
And
it's 10 o'clock on a Sunday night at this point.
You just got through that Ospreay Cassidy match that in theory should have destroyed the crowd. And what happened? Claudio gets a massive pop.
The second biggest pop of the night. I could not have
foreseen that.
The second biggest pop of the night behind Eddie Kingston. Because I don't know, even fucking like when Eddie Kingston came out, the music hit, and Kevin, who is a casual wrestling fan, he said, Jesus, that crowd just came undone for him.
Right. Nope. That match, as soon as I saw people jumping before they even showed him walking on the entrance ramp, I already knew.
They gave us the AJ Styles move.
Yeah.
The show in the crowd first?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised.
Because you would have thought that if it's going to be a surprise, you're going to aim right at the entrance ramp and see who's going to come down. Who's
like they did with Punk.
Yeah,
right.
Like
where it's that wide shot
of the whole arena
directly at the stage. I was surprised. I'm like, did somebody F this up? But then based on the video package, which you saw at the very end of the show, very clearly, like it had the Swiss cross, right? So like you would have known right away. Is there a history with Claudio in the 1812 Overture? Like, is this kind of like a thing that like was with him prior to WWE?
You're speaking language to me that I just don't understand.
The song, the dun, 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 dun,
no, I
dun,
get that, but
Overture.
I don't understand 18th Overture. Like, I know chord progression. That's about it.
No, I'm saying the 1812 Overture. That's what that song is. I'm saying, was there a history of Claudio with that song before WWE? Like, was that his song on the Indies? Like, yeah. I wasn't sure. I'm like, was that supposed to be like one of those Easter eggs where it's like, well, if you watched his match at the veteran. The VFW in Palo Alto, Pennsylvania, then you would have seen this before. Like, I don't know. I was just wondering.
But Claudio got the win with his new finisher, which is a cross arm power bomb. That looked pretty fucking awesome. Mm-hmm. It was a powerhouse versus technical masterpiece. Claudio, the fucking one arm carry from the outside of the ring and just dumping him on the inside.
Dude,
up the stairs. Up the stairs.
His clotheslines, man.
So fun fact, if you haven't ever heard the stories of how strong Claudio is, John Cena has gone on record saying the only person he cares to work out with is Claudio, because Claudio is insanely strong and he pushes Cena to be better. but we can move on from this match.
Do we have to? Do we have to?
We've only got an hour, and we got to talk about 2 more matches, and then we still got to go over who won predictions because it might shock you who won predictions.
Yeah, and a certain somebody's not here.
Yeah. But we go on to the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship match. We had Jay White versus Hangman Okada and Adam Cole. Unfortunately, during this match, Adam Cole got a concussion, which led to a very,
is that confirmed?
It is confirmed. He has a concussion.
Oh.
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
You could see it. He was just on the mat. He doesn't know where he was.
If he took that Rainmaker that he ducked from, he probably would have been knocked unconscious.
Okay.
Because of how hard fucking Okada hits that. So I'm not mad at the finish, knowing that Adam Cole is going to be okay.
But who was originally supposed to win, though, if you had to
White was always the person who was going to win.
I assume that was supposed to end. Whoa. Where'd Clint go? Clint, where are you? You're a grayscale.
Right
there
here.
you are. So
is.
my guess here, I could be wrong. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. Does Moxley have a concussion too? Anyway, we'll come back to that. What if Jay White was supposed to like have a big turn on Cole? You know, like it looked opportunistic the way that he ended the match. Like that was a good call on the fly. Like it felt like a dud kind of thing. I honestly thought that Rick Knox screwed up. And I thought that the way that Jay White pulled him in after was like, what did you just do? Like you messed this whole thing up, you nincompoop. But I do wonder, like, was the original plan Cole was gonna like go for the Panama Sunrise or something, and then White was gonna turn on Cole, and that was gonna set up Bullet Club and Undisputed Elite again? But
no, that was the finish set up. The finish was supposed to be Adam Cole takes a Rainmaker, Jay White sneaks in, hits the Sling Blade, and then pins Cole.
okay,
That was always
made
the
sense.
plan. But
Yeah,
Cole
that made
didn't take the move because he fucking ducked, and if he's got a concussion, that's fine. There's an unfortunate circumstance in which that was a great fatal 4-way up until that moment. Those 4 men worked their asses off. And
That should have been the main event.
That could have been the main event because honestly, the match that came after, I think the 4-way, even with the wonky finish, was still better. But goddamn, did Moxley and Tanahashi have one hell of a match to call those out the card?
Yes.
Only really affected by the fact that the 3 matches that went on before it were you could have made a pick for any of those 3 being the best match of the night. That was it. But it was up there. Now it's a great like 4-star match, but watching it right after those 3, which is essentially took an hour and a half of the card leading up to this match. It's 11:15. It's a Sunday night. I'm tired, so it just takes you out of it a little bit. Pay-per-views would be much better on a Sunday if they ran 7 to 11. Because this midnight shit, it's got to stop.
Yeah.
But
that was another feeling.
That was a really, really good fatal 4-way.
Yep.
That was a really good AEW interim title match.
They proved the ability to execute 4-way matches. I'm not saying that I want more. I'm not saying that I want this to become like the new norm, because in some ways it can be like a lazy booking way out of like not having told a good story. But that's 2. That's 2 on the night that they did, and 2 that I think we all agree had plenty of great moments.
Yep.
So there is that.
Yeah, it's a triple threat with an extra person, so that way you can have 2-on-2, and then it keeps the match interesting because then you can have Malachi versus Miro, Malachi versus Clark Connors, Malachi versus Pac, and then you can interweave that. There's like, what is it? 4 times. There's 16 different matches you can have in that match.
Yep.
Same thing with this one. Trevor?
Oh, because believe me, I want to talk about what happened after the match. So let's.
How the Jericho.
Can we run through this match? Like, do you, Clint? I assume that you really enjoyed this one, but I had no expectations for it, and I really just.
What the main event?
Yeah.
The main event, I had no problem with. I did not watch it last night. I left Ethan's probably around 11:15, right after that fatal 4-way.
But you've watched it since.
I've watched it since. It's a dynamite main event.
There you go.
Yep, I agree.
There you go.
And only reason I say that is just because it reminds me of an episode of Dynamite.
Yep.
Not a pay-per-view.
Especially with the way that it ends.
Right. Not being shitty on it, but it's just you got the same old routine. Let's one guy beat the hell out of one another. One guy starts bleeding. The other guy's blah blah blah. One guy, the guy that's bleeding wins. Okay, but then here comes 3 people coming from the back to ambush the guy that's bleeding.
Timeout on the post match, right? Like, didn't we say going into this that this is exactly what was going to happen?
Yeah.
Is that Moxley was going to get color for no reason. There was going to be no reason to set it up, but it's what he does.
Bled so much he made it look like Tanahashi was bleeding.
Yeah, it was stupid. It was stupid and unnecessary. There was nothing in that match that should have led to him bleeding the way that he did, bleeding in general.
Yeah, I mean, if you would,
And it just kind of like it's just part of the problem. Like AEW paid the bill, right, for this pay-per-view, and so like you get why they got priority on the main event. But like the interim title never should have been the main event when you knew Punk was out, and it was going to be an interim title over the IWGP title. I don't know anything about New Japan, right? I don't have any allegiance to New Japan, but like that's an actual title with history, and that match was better. Mm-hmm. That should have ended the pay-per-view, but instead, part of it, I assume, was to set up this bullshit. So, Trevor, you enjoyed the end of the match? After the match?
No, I actually wanted to destroy my TV that was in my living room. I wanted to put my foot through it because I am tired of seeing, even though I like Chris Jericho, don't get me wrong, I am tired of seeing the Jericho Appreciation Society coming out and interfering in every little fucking thing that goes on.
Well, let's just do a quick recap of that because we still got to get through predictions. And who won.
I got
But
you.
yeah, it was essentially a brawl between the Jericho Appreciation Society, Eddie Kingston's crew. It was a big brawl at the end of the night. Eddie Kingston and Claudio have a history that is well known, and they were screaming at each other as the pay-per-view went off the air.
What is the history? Can you unpack for me what the history is?
I really can't. Not in like 5 minutes. Just like look up YouTube videos.
They were partners at some point?
Yes.
Why did it go sideways?
It's a long thing. It's a long thing.
But it came to the point that Kingston even spit in his face.
Yeah.
Twice.
And Kingston is set, like when Claudio got released from WWE, and Kingston kept making posts. He's like, he doesn't have the fucking balls to come
to show up here. And then he tweeted last night. He was like, I guess he did. Or something. Like something to that effect. Like, did he like sleep with Kingston's mom? Like, I don't get why.
Go watch like a 15-minute YouTube video about it. Educate yourself. Because it happened long time ago, like 2011.
All right, predictions.
Yes, the predictions. The big money thing. Who won predictions? Do we have any guesses on who won predictions?
Not me.
I forgot my picks, so I'm guessing maybe Ethan.
Well, in last place with 4 correct picks, it is Trevor.
Say
Trevor, your picks were the Bullet Club, Claudio, FTR, Tony Storm, Orange Cassidy, the Jericho Appreciation Society, Miro, Adam Cole, and Moxley. So you had 4 correct. Russ, you and I tied with 6 apiece.
That makes sense.
You had the Bullet Club, Zack Sabre Jr., FTR, Thunder Rosa, Ospreay, Jericho Appreciation Society, Malachi Black, Jay White, and Moxley.
Okay.
I had the Dudes with Attitudes, Zack Sabre Jr., FTR, Rosa, Ospreay, the Jericho Appreciation Society, Miro, Okada, and Mox.
So you had Miro and Okada wrong. And what did I have wrong?
I had Miro, Okada, and Zack Sabre Jr. wrong.
And I had Zack Sabre. I had Malachi.
And you had
what was my third?
Club. You had Bullet Club.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we were close.
If he didn't try to be a fucking hipster and change his last answer just because we all had the same one, he would have had a sweep. He would have had the whole pay-per-view.
Which one was that?
He had Dudes with Attitudes,
okay.
Claudio, FTR, Rosa, Ospreay, Pac, Jay White, and Tanahashi.
What an idiot.
What a
the easiest match. The easiest match to pick is the one that he got wrong.
He tried to be a fucking hipster.
Oh my god, he almost had a perfect prediction. I don't know if that like absolves him of all the sins that he's committed on the trivia side of things, like where he's had some very poor performances, but that was pretty good.
So, so that brings our wins to Russ and Trevor both with 0 wins. And me and Russ tied with 1 apiece.
You mean you and Ethan tied with 1 apiece?
Me and Ethan tied for 1 apiece. Sorry, it's been a day.
How many shows have I done where I've done predictions, though?
We've only done 2 predictions so far.
Okay.
But, I mean, I don't think we're going to do one for Money in the Bank. I think we're going to keep these exclusive to AEW pay-per-views. But, yeah, so that is the results of our predictions. Ethan, the champion of predictions right now, not here to claim his prize.
Which means we need to name an interim Forbidden Door predictions champion.
Oh, just go grab your belt real quick. I'll hold mine. We can both hold our AEW interim titles.
Oh,
what? That thing should be displayed on a mantle above your fireplace.
Listen, my kids like to play with it. They like to take a stuffed animal and put it around the stuffed animal. They like to take their little sister's stuffed animals.
I just want to hear your child hitting you in the face.
We have
with
a fish. It's like a fish stuffed animal, and they put the AEW belt on it, and we started chanting tuna, but like Goldberg.
Tuna.
Exactly. Yep.
No,
That's what being a parent is. If you're thinking about having kids out there, think about this. Am I ready for the financial burden of having children? Am I ready to bring a child into this world? Well, if you're not on the fence, you can always get an AEW belt and put it on a stuffed animal, and that makes it all worth it.
Well, I guess we need to get another one and put it on Eevee that I just got Sawyer.
I'm not giving that fucking kid a belt. He's got to earn it.
There you go.
I'm not giving a 1.5-year-old a championship belt. He can
Clint's
win
not Bernie Sanders. He's not out here giving everything away
I'm
as
not
a universal.
giving everything away. Come on.
Oh, actually, I'll just give him the NXT one that's up there.
So, I guess if we're looking at this now, what was your expectation on a scale of 1 to 10? What was your expectation going into Forbidden Door?
A 4.
And what did it end up being?
A 9.
So you went from a 4 to a 9. Trevor?
It was about, what was it, about 3? And it went to 9.5.
I went from like a 3.5 to an 8.5. Maybe a 9.
It's the best AEW show of the year.
Here's my negative. You ready?
Sure.
It makes me so upset. No, it makes me so upset that they could put on a show that good and have such a piss poor build to it. And it's not because of the injuries, because you could have started really good storytelling with prior matchups and just had bad luck. You just did a bad job of building to it. And it's like, imagine if you had gone into that pay-per-view mentally with stakes. Like, it would have taken that to a next level. What we got to see was a show with like little to no build and just got to appreciate it for what it was. Excellent talent in the ring, putting on excellent matches. So if you're going to do it again, have a proper build for it. Put those two things together.
But the one thing I want to talk to you about, you, Russ, this guy over here.
That's me.
Do you want to hang out at Arthur Ashe Stadium and get tickets and sit next to each other and go to a wrestling event together? Because I'll make the trip.
So I want to go. I went last year. I would encourage anybody who's watching or listening to the show, go to Arthur Ashe. Like, go and experience it, because it is the perfect wrestling venue.
What the fuck was that?
Tell me.
I have to tell you, I have one concern with that show. You have got to build to it like it's a pay-per-view. And like, I know last year was like Danielson and Kenny, and it was awesome. Awesome. I don't think you should lead the show with the biggest match. I think that was a mistake last year. Don't screw that up. Clear out the second half of the show. Let somebody go, like, let somebody do a Broadway. Like, give them a full 60. And if you need to like have filler for after that, or have like storyline, angle, whatever, totally fine. But like, do it the right way. Build to that match. Get your big ratings pop that way. Not by
you want to get 1 million
show.
on Rampage? You want to get 1 million viewers on Rampage? That's how you do it. Save it for the main event of the Rampage show.
Oh, no. What?
Yep.
No.
The main event of the whole fucking show. Don't torture your audience and put on the best match in the middle just to appease the TV people at home.
Oh, you're saying if you're in person, make it like just for the people who are there.
Yep.
Oh boy,
make it. You got to go. Make it. You have to go.
So burnt out. You know what would be really cool Well, I don't know. Is Punk going to be back? September.
He's going to be
He
back
could
for
be.
All Out. He's going to be back
You
for
think
All
so?
Out.
What's the date of that one again?
September 4th.
What's the date of... Oh, and
Arthur Ashe is about
Arthur
2.5
Ashe's
weeks
21st.
later.
So it's September 21st. It's
Yep.
close to my birthday. Okay. What if you did Punk? Oh, I have the match. I have it. New York City. Punk. Well, Punk versus Kenny is easy if Kenny's back by then. What about Punk versus Ospreay?
Maybe.
I want to see it.
Maybe. But with that note, we're going to
Punk
sign
Danielson.
off.
Oh, Punk and Danielson.
We're going to sign off for the night, guys. You can find us at On a Forklift Pod on Twitter. You can find me at PK Batman on Twitter. Russ?
You can find me on Twitter at Joy on Broad.
And you, holy shit, it's Trevor Davis. You can find me at Nightmare Cuda.
Find us at Channel Snicklefritz on YouTube, PK Batman 420 on Twitch, and our new night, Thursdays at 9 p.m. on UPN. And we're going to sign off the normal way we do, but we're going to add a little bit extra to it. We love you, Judy. We love you, Flossie. You all have a good night.